one of the more critical pieces when it comes to your product development is going through and prepping for that UAT kickoff. Hey, this is Tony with ProductManagerHub.io, where we talk all things product management. Welcome back to another weekly install of our Life as a Product Manager, Volume 6. So, what are we talking about today? We are going to be touching on some of the new things that we have brought to life at Product Manager Hub. Then I will dive into a little bit of a weekly recap of what it's like being a product manager at an enterprise um, uh, company or organization, and then my large takeaway for the week. So let's dig right in. What's new at Product Manager Hub? We have recently moved our community of practice from a Teams channel to an actual community hosted by Mighty Networks. We absolutely love them when it comes to our community of practice. There's a couple key takeaways why we decided to make the move over there. One of the biggest things that we were challenged with is when new community members were trying to sign up. We had a little bit more of a laborious process getting them registered, getting them over, getting them converted, all of those things. And so we absolutely love the way Mighty Networks is allowing users or new users to the community to sign up in many different ways and get immediate access to our community of practice. So that was an easy win. Some of the other great things about it is we're able to share content and update all of our community members when new content drops. We're looking at the ability to build courses in the future also for product managers. So they host that for us to grow into. Another great thing that we loved about them is the ability to schedule events. So, for example, if we want to schedule an event and we're bringing in somebody to talk specifically about market research, we can actually schedule an event within the idea creation portion of our community and invite members over to specifically look at that. And we continuously keep all that content in the same place. So, once again, if you are a product manager and looking to join a community of practice of like minded individuals, we invite you to come on over to our community and check it out. Obviously, it's free to register and sign up and start poking around in our content, so it won't hurt at all. That's what's new on our community of practice. With regards to our newsletter, Ship It to Production, that is released on every Friday. We published that today is Friday. So we published it out to our user base. One of the highlights within our Ship It to Production newsletter is we typically talk about what does a product manager overlook in a certain area of product management. This week, we dove into, let's say you're a product manager and you're releasing a new feature within existing software. Some of the most common things that a product manager overlooks. We talk a little bit about the different areas, and then we really focus in on what we feel would make most sense or you should really dial in when you go to release a new product or feature within an existing software platform. Come on over. We would love to have you as part of our member base. Links in the description with regards to how to subscribe to this particular newsletter, but it drops every Friday. Great content, and it also talks about some of the latest posts and videos that we have as well. So, and then the last thing is we started a new article series in product management around consulting. So we noticed that within the market shifts, we are seeing a lot of layoffs. We are seeing a lot of transitions, teams condensing. There's just a lot of activity. And one of the things that we want to be mindful of as product managers are shifting around a little bit. What if they decide to get into consulting? So if you were a product manager and you are feeling like you want to dip your toes into consultings, we started a brand new series at Product Manager Hub talking about the consulting side of product management. So we invite you to come on over, take a look at that. So that's what's new at Product Manager Hub in this last week. So on to the big topics of my life as a product manager. So one of the things I like to do is kind of break this into two different buckets. I like to talk a little bit about the stakeholder side of things and then the development side of things. And I will have to say this week was a little bit more interesting on the stakeholder management. With regards to meetings this week, we only had roughly about 8 hours worth of meetings. There was, as normal we had a lot of conversations around journey mapping sessions, user development, trying to understand how to evolve our applications a little bit more on those personas. And we've also made some advancements in being able to identify those different personas as they are using our different applications. So it's kind of expanding our abilities to make our software just ever so much better. I've done a little bit of market research this week with regarding how different users would interact with our particular software products, what some of the competition is doing, and if there's any gaps within our existing software. Did quite a bit of market research, going through some of the team restructuring as well, or structuring. We were looking at adding a little bit more conversational pieces with some of the stakeholders to just ensure we're touching on all the different things that it takes to bring a product to market, whether it's release notes, making updates to different stakeholders, to different marketing individuals within the organization. So it's just kind of having more of those conversations on that team structure. We were looking at product performance. And then one of the biggest things that we had this week was just UAT kickoff calls. And I'll dive into more of that at the end of this conversation to talk specifically about UAT because it's just what a fabulous topic to talk about, right? So that is a lot of the stakeholder management. Once again, just to recap, we had roughly about 8 hours worth of meetings and we covered a whole host of things. Now, getting into the other side of my responsibilities, it is on the development side or development management. This week, I had roughly about 14 hours worth of meetings. And once again, these meetings are going to consist of your refinement sessions, your stand ups, any kind of technical design, architecture type conversations. I find myself mostly in these types of meetings lately, which is great. But it seems like I've been a little bit more heavy in the development side of things. So a lot of the stuff that I've been working on is just making sure that our stories are refined for our development team, kind of going through and making sure that we identify different technical debt, making sure that we kind of fill in those nooks and cranny as we continuously do those development tasks. Not only was I doing a lot of that, but I was also looking at the data analysis side on some of the services, making sure that our services are appropriately grabbing data, showing data correctly, and just making sure that things kind of tie off for the most part. And then the last big piece within development management is just making sure documentation is up to date. This is a huge critical thing that I touched on one of a past um, conversations is that you need to make sure that documentation is always up to date for for the most part, just because as your technology changes, you don't know how great it is if you have to revisit something at some point and you have to remember how to do something. Having that documentation is just critical so you don't have to continuously recreate the wheel and pull in all kinds of individuals. So that was development management. So to recap on that, I have roughly had about 14 hours of meetings this week on that, which leads into the last section of life as a product manager. So this is my big key takeaway. One of the things that I want to talk about with conducting UAT. So it is one of it's a major function as a product manager to go through that user acceptance testing of any kind of product that we're bringing to life. One of the things that I came out of this week is just really getting into the preparation of those UATs. I almost think about them as like a dress rehearsal. You want to make sure that you go through the process of what that user is going to experience during UAT. And that is going to go through anything from how do they look at the use cases? How do they look at the feature? How would they demo the feature if they had to demo it? Talk through the test cases with regards to what the expectation is if you're logging in as a user, you should expect to see this type of data or these types of results. And then you also look at some of the risks or use cases that would break the system. Talk through some of those things as well. Um, just to kind of recap on that, though, I think that this is one of the more critical pieces when it comes to your product development. is going through and prepping for that UAT kickoff. And I like to have a kickoff call for UAT because what it does is it continuously gives you that dress rehearsal in regards to how you pitch that product. So if you remember back to when you first decided to bring a feature to life, you did all of the market analysis and you figured out, yes, this is the feature that we want to bring to market. What this continuously does is you go through the first iteration of creating the story of what that feature is going to do. But as you go through the development phase of it, as you continue the conversations with all of those cross functional teams, you'll find yourself kind of bringing a little bit more flavor and context to what that feature is actually going to do for a user. And as you have those conversations, you build out a much richer experience regarding the documentation behind it so that by the time you go to market with it, your cross-functional teams has so much documentation regarding demo pieces, regarding test cases, regarding how things are used, screenshots, all kinds of different things that by the time you're ready to launch it, you just have a wealth of information for those users or those cross-functional teams to use to be able to then move it into the next stage of deploying it, training on it, adding all of those different elements to your deployment activities. So once again, I love it. You need to ensure that, this is also a huge critical piece is when you're ready to launch something, make sure that you go through that UAT, prep it very well. Make sure that there are no pieces missed and you go through those dress rehearsals with all those participating members before you sit down with the business to actually go through things with it. So that is my big weekly lesson is going to be UAT kickoff, prep for it, lead the witness. Why not? That being said, I thank you for staying along with me for this conversation with regards to life as a product manager. We always invite you to visit productmanagerhub.io, where we have all kinds of great resources for product managers. Come over and join our community of practice and look for our Ship It to Production newsletter. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video. Have a great week.